everyone, and welcome to the Venn Diagram. Gonna head straight into this. After the 15th take of this first 10 seconds, I realized, let's go with the flow. Let's see where it goes from there. So yeah, first of all, this is the first episode of the podcast, so thanks for tuning in. And I will do like some background information about me, just so you can put things in context and think about the main aspect of this podcast. So I will talk about a bit about my background and maybe my personal story, my current state in things, and then we will just proceed with other stuff. So first of all, currently I work in programming, and you may think that, oh, that's nice, that's a very sure career path. But the thing is, and that's what I want to start this podcast with, because as it proceeds, you will see this is not really a podcast for another success story. It's not really a podcast for something great or a showcase of some huge talent or a showcase of like a very straight path in life where you would feel that, oh my God, this guy, like, he really has everything and went in a very nice way. He planned it all along. This podcast will more be about just how we mess up. Not necessarily that, because what I want to show you, or what I want to just... There's a lot of experience behind this, and a lot of certain situations I went through. And I just feel that like this is something I should share. I would like to share, and to be frank, I'm just interested in the whole podcasting thing, so that's also a motivation for me to grow in this field. So the thing is that sometimes I think life is not straight. Life is not a straight path. It's more like a very complex maze of choices and emotions and possibilities and things you can do and can't do. Like, I don't know, there's always like someone telling you that you can do everything. But don't get me wrong, this will also not be a podcast about how you can't achieve certain things. I'm not gonna be a person who's like holding you back from your dreams. But all I'm saying is there's a point of reality, and it's very easy to say that like everything is reachable after you reached it. But that's not what I believe in. I think everything is quite hard work. Now, I'm not saying for everyone everywhere, but like most of the times it is actually behind every like successful person. There's hours and hours and tons of hard work and experience, and a lot of podcasters here, amazing people, just put out so many hours and studying, learning. Sometimes it's not even just the topic they are doing, but the like collective experience that they had over time about life, and that's what enables them to do this. But anyhow, without going too far from the main topic, so the thing is, programming is not something I just went into straight. And then after high school, Actually, I went to study. I wanted to study programming. That's the funny thing. I wanted to do something IT related. The thing is, that's not how it went due to grades, and yeah, and I was very bummed about it, to be frank. And just as a quick rash decision, partially pushed by people around me, I just went with marketing, also not in like a regular schedule, but just every weekend, and that's it. And like, long story short, I really didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that I can't go in every day. I felt like I can't really build friendships that well. I didn't really have that university vibe that you would want. I don't know, the classes were a bit different. I wouldn't say all over the place, but for sure, I don't know, cramming a week's worth of classes into just a weekend, that's tolling. And not to mention that I started to work at like a fast food chain. And I don't know. To be frank, you would say that that's horrible. It sounds horrible, but to be frank, I just felt like I realized I don't want to do that. And that was very liberating. But of course, it was much less liberating to just tell my folks that like I'm not gonna proceed with that, because back at that time I still lived with them, being, I don't know, like 18 or something. And the thing is, yeah, it always quite fearful, right? That you just change something or go against someone else's advice, especially at that age. But I think this really applies to any age in life. So that's quite a hard decision, but I really urge everyone not to just stay in something they really can't stand. Because there's some part until I would say it's logical, because when you finish it, you will gain something, but it's a very thin line. And I think no one should be in a situation where you just feel, all right, I hate this, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this at all. And I don't care about like whether your family did that and then you just following on their track, or I don't know whether someone advised this to you or you just didn't know and you don't want to fail. There's really no excuse for staying in something that's not working. Let it be a relationship, a friendship, or even this school or a workplace. Because like it's almost like a chronic disease, like what you're giving up really, like you're suffering your whole life. And yeah, maybe after pulling the trigger something, I don't know, bad will happen. And maybe it will go in a wrong direction for a few months. So for sure there will be like consequences of your choice there. And for sure you will feel it. But isn't it more damaging just on the long run to just suffer small and small every day? I think that's really killing your mind and your motivation and everything. So anyhow, I just pulled the trigger and decided to just pursue something else. And yeah, but the thing is that my job, you would say that like any job at like a fast food chain must be terrible, right? Well, the job itself, that's not something I really embraced. I didn't feel like I learned a lot because of the job, but more likely I learned a lot because of people being there, customers, like co-workers. And even to this day, I really think back fondly about that time, and really not because of the job. But I wouldn't change a bit about that. So anyhow, just continue with this mindset and going to higher level. After that, at that time I was doing like kendo, which is, if you don't know, it's like I wouldn't compare it to fencing, but it's a competitive like Japanese sport, in a way sword fighting, but you really use like a bamboo rod. Anyhow, it's a wonderful thing. I really recommend it to anyone. Just it's not really just the, I don't know, physical exercise itself. It's not just the community, but that's also great, can be great. But also somehow the discipline you get, the mindset, it's just a complete package. And each to its own, but for me, at that time especially, it really spoke, and it was really something that like give some path to my life. The thing is that like because of that, and because of being more entwined with Japanese culture overall, I decided, okay, like a logical hop from this would be to do Japanese studies. And the thing is here, you don't really need to have any any prerequisite to do that. So you can start from like zero at the uni. And the thing is, I did. Like I pulled the trigger on it, and I don't know, I really went with it. And here comes another part in life. And the thing is that like almost every aspect of it was so great, and I really enjoyed it, like 90%, and I was actually good in it. And there was like the language itself, which is, I don't know, I felt it is quite hard, especially at that time. I also felt that like somehow the pace teachers like doing it is a bit too fast. Not to mention that there were some like students who already learned Japanese in high school and stuff, and I don't know. I think it really just went in a fast pace. So I always felt like I'm running, like, I don't know, after myself. But it would be a lie to say that I was like 100% motivated in it, or I don't. I feel like I have my reasons. Part of it laziness, maybe. Part of it being young. It's also not just young people, of course, but I do think at that age, at least, I was not that focused on these. And yeah, and I always felt like I'm running and running and running. And no matter how much I enjoyed it, I just at some point there came like, and to be frank, I was like passing stuff, but at some point I just put up the question to myself that, like, especially after like gaining knowledge about the whole situation and possibilities in the future, and I was just like posing the question that how this gonna go from this. Like, I don't know, I finish it, what's next? What are my opportunities? Do I have to do masters? Do I have to do anything else? And the thing is, what I had in mind after this, I don't know, my brainstorming period about it, was just, it's not worth it, at least for me. Don't get me wrong, it's really a wonderful field, and I would study it again and again, but I just felt at that moment, it's just not worth it for me. Just time I put into it, just not worth it. And I just felt that it's not bringing the necessities I want fast enough, and also the future was quite hard to tell. And yes, maybe you would say that you should think in advance when pulling on triggers like this, but I feel that it's like really an overstatement sometimes that people can do that, because very often you're talking about young people. And again, I really don't want to bash on young people, but I just think my priorities were a lot of times elsewhere. I didn't have enough experience to really tell what do I want to do, because like my mind was all over the place. I wanted a bit this, a bit that. And of course your friends are an influence, your environment is an influence, your personality is just still something that try to find its way in life. And I just feel that at that time I just realized that, like, that's not the choice I really have to do, or it's not the path I have to walk. And the thing is, at that point I spent like 1 or 2 years at that place. I was really thinking that, like, how can I take this fall, and how can I rise from it, and how can I actually make it, cushion it a bit, okay? And I realized that there are some other majors which would accept you to just bring along some classes and stuff. And I also realized, I'm not sure about you, but I think this is a tendency a lot of people have. Sometimes you aim high, and there's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes just aiming too high is just something that's not too logical. So this time, I was just looking at myself and thinking about, like, what is it that I can actually do right now? What is it that I'm actually good in? Because don't get me wrong, if you want to build something from ground up and you have the motivation, I think you can do it. So just go at it. At least you will see how it goes. But I think without all those motivations and everything, if you have no talent, no motivation, building things from the ground up is not that logical. And actually finding something that you're good in, or have an aptitude for, or just have enough experience in it to just go with it in a much easier way, then just roll with that. And that's how I went to like English studies, where I actually stayed, and that's the course I actually finished at uni. And I think it was a wonderful course. Of course, as every university, it has its flaws, so it would be far-fetched to say it was perfect, but what's perfect really in life? So I do enjoy it. I don't know, I made some nice connections with people and learned a lot from them. I don't know, there was like a period where I felt like I'm actually growing a lot through experiences, and that's that. And I was actually enjoying it. And my plan, and I can talk about this later on if this topic is interesting for you, because there's a lot of like reasoning behind this, and I thought a lot about this. But my plan was to like teach at the uni. But for that, actually, you have to do PhD and masters, of course, before that. And that's roughly like 10 years of studying. And really, like, my hats off to all those people who actually do this. But just looking at the benefits, looking at the possible life it would bring me, at least that part of being a university teacher. And again, I really honor the profession, but I just felt like for me, what it would bring is not something that aligns with my path. And I'm really like marking my path here. Because all these things I say, it's like either applies to you or not, but it's not really bashing on anything like, let's say, a profession, like being a university teacher. I really love it. I really adore everyone doing it, and I really respect them. And a big shout out to you guys, girls, and everyone out there. But I just felt like that's not something I can do just personally. And again, like, it's very easy to experience all these things as a failure. Like, again, like, you're quitting this as like the third time. And why can't you just go through with something? But sometimes I think like actually humans are very versatile. They're very like, you can live everywhere, right? Like people living in -30, -40 Celsius, and they're just living there. And like also in the desert, it's crazy. And what looks incomprehensible for someone is like really possible for someone else. So all I'm saying is that it's not always true, I think, that you should go through with things. Because that's why we have a mind, right? To just think about how we feel about it. What does it bring to us? It's not really that like we set something in stone at year 1, and at year 3 we are the very same person and we just have to carry through it. There's always like something to gain and something to lose. You should just like, I don't know, take a like whiteboard, make 2 columns, and just list the pros, list the cons, check it what you're gaining, check it what you're losing. It's a simple trade, right? And you can't just say that like staying there is just benefits. So what I would encourage everyone, and it's not to quit, so don't grasp the wrong aspect of this. What I would say to everyone is not to quit, but to always assess where you are at. Is it following your dreams? Is it following your motivation, your heart? Are you really doing what you want to do? Because in some sense, life can be long, but life is also short. You really don't have time to just mess around with something that you really don't want. You really don't have time to just worry about what your father will say, what your peers will say, what anyone would say, right? Because anyone is not you at the end of the day. It's not you. They are not going in, I don't know. They're not just in your mind feeling the same feelings every day at night when you just go to your bed and just lay down, and like questions and ideas come storming, and it's all about like, why are you doing this? I don't even want this, really. I don't feel good. It's not making me satisfied. And the thing is that like if you hear these things, if you feel these things, no one else should say what to do. And also, don't get me wrong, of course, experience can be very nice, and I think you should really hear out people with experience, because there's a like very thin line when we are posed with challenges. It's much easier to quit, right? Sometimes it's much easier to just drop what we're doing because it's too scary. It's unknown and you're just uncomfortable. It's out of your comfort zone, and you would feel like, okay, this is the right thing to do. Don't confuse this with that. What I recommend is like really write down pros and cons, carefully meddle about the facts, what you want to do. Not for too long, right? Not for too long, because people really, really have the tendency to just meddle about something for ages, and the longer you think about it, like the worse it gets, right? Like, I don't know, if I just told you now you're gonna have like your teeth pulled, Like just in this moment, right now. It's scary, right? But it's not that bad. But give it 5 days, give it 7 days of waiting time, and I'm sure that it will ramp up in you, and you will be like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if it goes wrong? And then you start reading up on all the negative things, reading up about like where it can go wrong, how it can be messed up. And of course that's true. And again, I'm not going against research here. What I'm going against is like, don't let your mind just get the better of you, and don't let your mind just ramp you into these fears. Really just make like a 2 columns, list pros, list cons within a day or something, and just like just try to feel it. All right, this is a bit about fear, feel a bit about logic. Which one I want more? Just do some elimination, like A or B. Do I want this? Do I like want something else? And just, I don't know, if you feel you want something else, just go with it. Like, don't think about it for ages and ages. If you listed all the pros and cons, if you just already felt this for a certain time, like, you just have to take it. And maybe it goes well, and maybe it will be very an easy and smooth exchange. Maybe it will be a struggle for a while. That's a price to pay. Or maybe even it will be a very wrong path, right? But even then, you just have to embrace it. And you just have to roll with the punches sometimes, because yes, these choices, not staying in your comfort zone, making decisions that like more risky, right? Taking risks. It's in the name. It's actually risky, right? Obviously. Well, the thing is, you are taking risks. Just like with, like, let's say you buy something used. It can be cheaper, there's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons. But you always have the risk that like it dies the next day. It dies the very next day. But I can tell you that like I purchased tons and tons of things used, and of course I always did my research before that, right? Like, is the seller reputable? Like, how likely it is that this thing will go bad? And what are my options if I have to repair it? Stuff like that. But after that, you have all that information and still seems like a good deal, and maybe it has warranty and stuff. Just pull the trigger on it. And yeah, maybe in every 100 purchases, something will go wrong. But if you just calculate like how much money you like kind of won, not buying new every time, just that little money in some sense, but of course it also depends on what we're talking about, but that relatively little money most of the times going like into getting a new thing that you would have spent on the new things itself over the years, because like sometimes it's double the price, sometimes it's even more. It can really cost. And this doesn't apply to every category, but it's a very good general advice that everything will have risks. Sometimes you have to roll with the punches, but without risk there is no gains, right? You can't get the goodies in life, you can't get the like gist of life if you're just not willing to take risks and you want to stay in your comfort zone. I get it. It's a very comfortable life. You will be happy even. You will feel good, but you will never feel great. And that's the key. There's one life here, and you really have to push that. All your decisions should be something that you're actually accepting, and you're saying that like, okay, this is what I wanted at that time, I went with it. You want to ask out a girl, do it. If you get rejected, then you're rejected, boom, but you did it, right? It's not on you. It's not gonna be you who stay in their bed, I don't know, in 20 years, 30 years, or at the couch thinking about what would have happened, right? Because there's nothing worse than that. Not the like temporary shame or like failure or even like refusal or rejection. All those things, they are gone in a week, gone in a few days. But this thing in your brain meddling in the back that like, what if I did that? What if I was more like braver? What if I actually like took initiative there? What if I changed jobs? What if I studied something else? What if I was like able to say no? What if I was able to say goodbye to a toxic relationship without like, I don't know, poisoning you for like your rest of your life or months and months and months? because you're building your life on quicksand, like in a toxic relationship. It's really leading nowhere very often. So just take your chances, take that leap, and then just roll with it. And leap. This really brings me to a big shout out to Alexis Fernandez, who's doing the Do You Fucking Mind podcast. Just a little something from our topic, but yeah. To be frank, I was really inspired by her and the podcast itself and this very first episode. Of course, she doesn't even know I'm like mentioning her most probably, but yeah, the thing is that I really felt this accumulating in me. The thing that I always try to start these things, like starting a podcast, starting something else, but I just always felt like I'm waiting for the perfect moment. And she's talking about in the first episode about this thing, that leap of faith. It really spoke to me because sometimes you really do have to take that. But I will talk about this more as it goes on, this episode. I just first really want to wrap it up. I really want to wrap up like just this like background part about me. So after that, and I decided not to actually do PhD, not to go to like study, teach at the uni. I just like went back to like my old plan, right? Because it's not gone, it's not forgotten. The motivation is there. It's I'm still interested in it. And just because something didn't happen at a certain part in life, it doesn't mean you can't pursue it still later on. So with I don't know, all the pros and cons, and even a friend mentioning this to me, like big thanks to him too. Actually, it was a very big part in this decision. So like sometimes your friends, guys, like it really, really helps. So thanks friend. So the thing is that I decided to study programming, and because jobs look nice, job market was nice, options, opportunities, home office, maybe more traveling. Overall, it was just something that I felt like that can support my life, because sometimes your job should support your life. I mean, there's a very lucky few, and I think there will be an episode about this or something, but sometimes there are some people who actually manage to pursue their like hobby as a job. But also there's the question, do you really want that? And if you want it, is it realistic to you? Because it also depends on what is it and how it would work out. And I often feel that just doing something I love as a job, but not being able to live properly because of it, I would feel maybe it would poison, because no matter how happy I feel doing my favorite thing on earth, if I can't buy food, if I can't pay for medical expenses, if I can't help out a friend, if your home is in like a good bad condition, if you can afford travels, it really depends where your priorities lie. But I just felt this is something that would support me on the long run. It would support my individual self too. And I just pulled the plug, and that's not the right expression here. So I just went with it. Went to a school, like a boot camp, to do this programming course, like full stack. And after that, they also offered to like help you find a job, which I did. So I'm working in this for like 4 years now. 3 years to be frank, but with the school it's 4 years in programming at this point. And yeah, I think this will deserve one more episode about this part, programming, and why I choose it. Maybe I can tell you more about why I didn't choose to do PhD. And also I had a lot of, and anyhow, there's a lot of opinions and feelings and experiences about this topic, so I certainly think this should be a separate episode. I think this is part of it, so I will talk more about this because this seems like a weird thing to mention, but I actually have like certain vision for this podcast, and I really want to convey it with all these small things. And yeah, actually, like it is quite hard to talk for this long, and my throat feels so dry, and I'm really not used to this. So there's that, guys. It's not that simple, and there's challenges even in this. Anyhow, So I did this programming course. It was awesome, and then I just started working in it, and I really like it. Of course, there are cons of it. Of course, I can always say something that I don't like about it, but the thing is, most of the times I like it. I like the majority of it. I feel content about it. And most importantly, it also supports my daily life, my habits, my needs, my, I don't know, stability and future. And it's just really something that assures that I can do my hobbies too. And that's that. It really works. Most of the times it really works. So I don't know. If you're really interested in this topic and why I made these choices, just check out a podcast. I'm sure I will just name it something like this about the topic. I will be able to find it. I think like I will do it in the near future, just the first few episodes. Yeah. I don't know. And let's just switch to just further parts of this podcast. So, thing is, like, I would like to talk a bit about my inspiration. Thing is, I always wanted to start a podcast, and there was a lot of things, and still there is a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I want to do and I want to start. And as I said, like this podcast episode with Alexis really motivated me to take a leap of faith. Just some intro. I actually started my blog and my photography Instagram channel along with my photography website literally a week ago or just a few days ago. And it was really this podcast episode that like set me off of this journey, because the thing is the website was already there. It was not live. It was not deployed for my photos, because like that's one of my hobbies, photography, as like a really amateur person in that, but still it interests me and I find joy in it, which is like one of the most important things in these. So the thing is like the website was there. I purchased it. I even made it like 70%, but it was just there. And I was so struggling with like how to name it and everything. There was like so little details I got caught up on, which is something I really do very often. I'm not sure if you have this tendency, but I can really feel it if you do. That I can get caught up on details, where to host it, how to make it, how should it look, and then you just go into it on a lower level, and then you just see that there are tons and hundreds of options of making the website, and tons of options to host it. It's really a very, very deep pit. And then how it should look. What should I put in it? How the like structure should be, categories. What do I want to do with it? And there's a lot of questions involved. And also I had the ideas for websites. I still have a lot of ideas, by the way. And also you had like fear that like what will happen if, how it goes, and how I will mess up. It will be not perfect enough. It will not, I don't know, reach a certain level that you need. And thing is, as really Alexis said, I can really refer back to her on this. But the thing is, there's not such a thing as a perfect moment. You will always be unready. And you just have to jump. I really agree with her. You really have to jump before you're ready, as she said. Because otherwise, you will just like tiptoe at the gate for ages and ages. And some people really do push through, but I just don't push through. And I know there's a lot of people like me out there who just like really tiptoe at something and just they can't push through, and it just goes down in the drain. It's at the back of a drawer and you never did it. And what's better, right? To just do something and not be too good at it, but at least grow with it. Or, I don't know, do something in baby steps. Or not doing it at all and just keeping it at the drawer. It's a bit like, yes, you start it, you can fail, maybe people will boo, maybe they will say that like, what the hell is this is absolutely not good, I don't like this. Maybe no one will even check. It's even worse, you're unknown, no one cares about it. But the thing is, that doesn't matter, right? Because you had a dream, you had a motivation, you wanted to do something, then try it out. Try the waters. Maybe it will take 10 podcasts until I reach anyone, but I will just roll with it, because that's life, okay? At like the end of the day, you will say that, all right, today I lived how I wanted. I wanted the damn podcast and I started it. And it doesn't matter how future will go. It doesn't matter because that's not today. Today is today. And tomorrow is tomorrow. You can only care about today, right? You can't go back to the past and you can't care about the future in some sense. I know you can plan and everything, but a lot of things are unsure, right? What you can make sure is that you do today that you want to do. Because today is here right now. Don't let life just run past you, because that's absolutely not doing it. Just take the steering wheel and just roll with it, and roll with the punches. How it goes, it goes. Maybe it will be a wonderful journey. Maybe it will be something to learn of, and maybe you have to try it 5 times more. But then just do it, because you will gain experience. It's not for nothing. Just don't let toxic people bring you down, because there will be, right? This is the online world. There's a lot of toxic people. There's a lot of bitter people. Yes, you will fail in the beginning. It will not be perfect, but just do it. I agree. I totally agree, and that's what also motivated me into doing this. Like not tomorrow. I just came home like one day with my blog site, and I just like checked research for like half an hour what kind of website I can make within an hour. It's not looking great. It's looking okay. It's about the content, right? So it can always grow, right? Because right now, who knows how many people will even check it. It can always grow in the future. Just start with something. It will be small, but it can grow. But if you don't plant any seeds, that will not grow over, right? The thing is that if you have a garden and you just never plant those trees because they're like just taking too long to grow, what if they like dry out? What if, I don't know, they die of some disease? And then you're just like, they will never give me enough shade. And then you just sit in that garden, and then suddenly like 20 years pass by, and you're still like sitting on the sun, scorching. And you know what you think back? Why didn't I plant that seed? Maybe it would have been like a huge forest by now. Like, if I just only planted that seed, is it something that doesn't have, like, I think this happens to me tons of times. Don't you ever look back at your life and saying that, like, if I pick this up, this profession, this interest, this hobby, 5 years ago when I was just like 20 or 25, I would be in such a good something at it. And you just say this, and what do you do after? Are you like picking it up? No. I'm just saying, it's too late. It's like I should have did it back then, and then you just drop it. No, freaking take it up today. Start today. I don't care. Like, if you want to do drums and you don't have drums, just get 2 freaking forks and get your mother's like pots and just start drumming. I don't know, like, that's what you should do. Start watching drumming videos, start to plan, just start somehow, just start it. If you can afford it, even then start it. Start to get start to try and find more people who loves drumming. Maybe some people even hand you down a kit, some old something, or who knows. Like, a lot of opportunities stem from doing something, right? Or may stem. Doing nothing that will get you nowhere. So just plant your trees in the garden like early on. And if they die, they die, but at least you will have the option that it will give you some shade over the years. And even if it's not, you're just gonna sit on the sun knowing that you did everything, right? You planted it, you tried again and again and again, and that's the situation. And then you should accept, okay? Something's just not happening, that's fine. Roll with it. Just get a tent or something. I'm not saying to just sit and do nothing, but the thing is that there should be no little voice in the back of your mind that I should have done this before, and very same time not starting that thing, or I should have done this before. Do you really want to feel like that? You don't. You just want to ask someone out. Do it. You want to write a book? Do it. It will not be the perfect book, but just do the freaking thing. Just write that book. Start it. Or write 1 page today. Thing is, everything goes much easier if you really start. And if you just really go with it. So, anyhow, that's what really inspired me. And now I have my blog and my photography channel up, and I'm starting my podcast, all these within a week. This is crazy. I made my YouTube channel, which I will also upload videos to. And I'm just really on this path. I gained also some Instagram followers. It's really a fun journey. I feel like I'm living finally. I really love this. So yeah, some further details. I think the really schedule will be something like 1 per week right now. and then we will see how it goes from there. Because I don't know, like it depends. Maybe in certain weeks I will have 2, maybe not. Like life happens, right? But I will focus on providing you some content in like something that you can expect, okay? Because I know the anticipation is always fun. All right, now what about the structure? With the structure, I have a few ideas, and the thing is, I'm not that set on anything. I will see how things go. I will just feel the voters, the audience, myself, and just decide based on that. But currently, what I'm thinking is that in every month, I will just do my own content mostly. One time in every month, so like maybe 3 weeks my content, and 1 week I would just like to do something like audience questions or topics or any participation from your part. You can send me in any topics that you want me to talk about. You can send me in any ideas, any questions, and then like I will see how many of these gather. And if it makes an episode, then that's nice. If not, I will just somehow include it in one of the episodes or add some other content with it. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I already talked about this mostly. Why I started this and what's my reasoning. The thing is, my reasoning is just to take this leap of faith, and it will go somewhere, right? I just took that leap of faith, and I'm just gonna go with it, and it will go in some direction. Okay, we will see. You and me together. I really invite you to just look at it, see how it goes, see how it turns out. Because I'm just as a beginner in this. Not in my experience, alright, but just in doing this as you. And please listen to this first episode of this whenever you feel like you shouldn't do it today, you don't got it in you, you should wait. I don't know, there's a perfect moment. There's not. Don't take it. Don't wait for tomorrow. Like maybe the girl or guy or anything you want will be engaged by that time. Just ask them out, at least try, okay? If they already have someone, they will tell. Who cares about your embarrassment? It will go away. You know what will not go away? You feeling like, why didn't I do it? That will not go away. That will stay with you and that will bug you. You don't want that. I'm sure you don't want that because, I don't know, I would challenge you really just, are you really a person who can't mention at least 3 things that they actually felt like, we should have done that. I should have done that. I should have been brave enough. Or I shouldn't have feared that choice that much. So that's the thing. And also, I want this podcast to be a motivation for people who feel like they are not talented. Because life very often is not about talent, but motivation. Finding that motivation in you somehow. And finding that motivation in others and using that to motivate yourself. And yeah, I also started like playing the guitar, the bass and the electric at the same time. This is also an important aspect because like my website will focus more on this. What you have to know about me that I started the guitar, 5 times now? Maybe 6? Like throughout the years. It's really an on and off thing, but I never really went past like 2 songs. I don't like Sweet Dreams and what is the other, like Smoke on the Water or something like, or like Stairway to Heaven. Just kidding, that's too high. Especially like that song, but anyhow, like some very basic thing, and like maybe I learn 1 chord or something. And the thing is that like it's just something that come and go all the time in life. The thing is, somehow I feel I'm not willing to give up on it. And my motivation is not something I don't want to be a big rock star. I just really enjoy music. And the thing is, now I feel like this time I can do it. And I want to accompany you on this journey. And to be frank, I want you to accompany me on this journey. Just look at it, how it goes, okay? I don't know, if I will have a good reason to stop it because it doesn't bring me anything, don't feel like I went back on my word. Because I think if you feel like something is not giving you something, then you should really stop. But just because you had a bad day, just because you're tired, just because you're demotivated, just because you feel like you're not the next BB King or something, that doesn't mean that you should give up on something just because at that moment it feels like that. I know there's a very thin line here, but I'm sure somewhere deep inside you know what I'm talking about. And you do realize that sometimes we are giving things up because we have to, because that's the logical choice. Sometimes we're just giving things up because of fear, because of being demotivated. So yeah, I know there's a thin line, but let's find it together. I will do it too. I will try to find it in me. And the thing is that also I just want to show you the nitty-gritty part of life. I want this podcast to be honest, and that's why it's not scripted. I'm really not scripting this. Of course, I'm making notes just to like know where I am, like in bullet points, like just the base things I want to talk about. But there's not a huge script on a reader like in front of me reading all this out. Because I just feel like this should be genuine, right? Sometimes I will drink water, and sometimes I will like I don't do this, like or something that will happen. I will try to keep this like that, right? Not overproduced, not over the top. This is not a podcast that will talk about talent. I'm not a guitarist who will like come to you as like doing all the solos, knowing all the chords, just being perfect and like just showing you all the great techniques I can do. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. That's so great. And even on YouTube you find so many people like that, right? I don't know. I remember like there was a guy, I think he was called Igor on YouTube, and he did like fingerstyle guitar. I'm sure all of you know him. And he was so good, right? Even in the beginning, the like beginner videos, production was like very like I don't know, low standards, at least compared to today's level. But the content, guys, it was like superb, and you couldn't. It was like he was very talented. He's very talented, and it was just impeccable in that sense. But the thing is, not everyone starts out like that. And being surrounded by all these people, because I don't know, back in the days, maybe there was one good guitarist around you, but now you have YouTube, you have like all these TV series and everything, and you just really feel that like everyone is so good at everything, right? Social media also does that too. You always see them in their best, right? Like on Instagram, on Facebook, they're not uploading the pictures about them, I don't know, slipping on a like wet rag or something. That made no sense, but whatever, you get it. Like they're not posing to you as someone who made a mistake, someone who did a wrong turn, someone who just did some choices that are not the most optimal. They always like seem that like, okay, this person like really nailed it for the first time. They're like really talented. And yeah, there is talent for sure. But like even behind all these people, there's like hard work, hours and thousands of hours of work and practice. And there's a good mention, like there's Davey, and I think one Davey 504, and in one of his videos he's a bassist. Hi Davey. He really mentions that everyone would think that like his life is just he can whip up the perfect bass riff, the perfect bass line every time, and he can like get better and better and better with that. But he really mentions that like you cap at a point, and you can't always provide the best and the best and the best bass line every time, like even like I don't know, just going higher and higher for your level. You just can't. And sometimes even the audience is the problem, and us in some sense, like awaiting something bigger and greater, while like a lot of people are putting their life and soul and everything into this. But yeah, overall, I really see this as a problem, because like everyone feeling at social media, like that guys and that girls or that couple is just so perfect. Everything they do is so fun. They're going to the Bahamas, Canary Islands, whatever. They have such a good job. And the thing is, you're not seeing how they argue there. You're not seeing like how much money they spent on something or how big loans they got. Or you don't see how, I don't know, their work life feels. And don't get me wrong, there are people who actually like happy in their life. But social media is very, very... It's just all over the place. You never see behind the curtains. You just always see everyone's so good. And you're motivated by it. And then you buy your first guitar and you try something similar and you will fail. And you will be so demotivated that you want to stop even on that very same day. Just go on like Reverb or anything. What do you think? Why do you find so many guitars without like a day of use really? Like, I don't know, I'm not kidding with you. All the used guitars I got, most of the times, like back in the days, because I always kind of buy used, always people said that like, okay, I just practiced on it for like 10 hours. And with many things, it's not really true, but I think with instrument, it is. Like, even I did that oftentimes. And that really shows how fast you can get discouraged, how easy it seems sometimes by looking at these people. And then like, you never feel that like they're like actually failing. And the thing is that like, you just stop it on day one because like, I don't know. It happened to me a lot of times. I just seen that guy online. It was looked easy. It was very good, by the way. That's why it looked easy. It was just, he spent 10,000 hours just doing it. But it looked so easy. And I was like, all right, I can do this. And I took that guitar. I went home. I tried it. I failed so bad. So that's the thing. That sometimes you really have to see behind the curtain, okay? Behind the details, behind everything here. And you really have to see the struggle, the challenges, and the perseverance. That's the wonderful thing. That's really the wonderful thing. If you see a very nice body, a person's body who's doing workout for a lot of time, a very talented, quotation marks, a musician, a very good ceramist or something, I don't know. If you see these people and you say that like, oh, they are so good at it, they're so talented, don't say that. Say that they did freaking hard work in that. They like practice day and night to get there, because most people really did that. Don't just neglect their like effort in this by saying that, all right, these people actually just talented. So easy to say, right? That guy's talented, that guy's talented, talent is overrated. And a lot of people don't do anything with their talent. Maybe you're talented and like sitting on it. Don't care about talent, care about your motivation, because I'm really like promising to most of the people. I mean, of course, don't take me up on this, but the thing is that if you really put in the hours, if you really had motivation and really practice 10,000 hours, I can tell you, even 1,000 hours, but I'm telling you, you will be good at that instrument if you do it right. And doing it right, it just means that just go to a teacher. If you can do it online, just go to a teacher and just work with that person. And if you feel like it's not good, change. Don't feel like, oh, they will be so angry. No, change. The thing is that if you put in the effort, very often, like, there will be some results. But we're just not putting in the effort because, like, at least me, I very often want instant satisfaction. And it's very often happens in this life. You want instant satisfaction. You want everything to work instantly. You just need something to happen today, okay? How fast I can learn this, how fast I can progress with this. You don't even enjoy the journey anymore. But anyhow, like, just in a nutshell, just to like give some conclusion to this mind process, or like this strand, I don't know. Insert the word here, alright? I'm sure you know what I mean, but just to give some context, I really want to show in this podcast, in my YouTube videos, on my website, that like actually doing guitar, doing any instruments, doing anything, a hobby, work, a relationship is hard freaking work. Yes. Like, there's no such thing as like love at first sight. I mean, of course there is. You will love that person, but you know, in 5 months, in a year, things will change. And you have to put in the work. The relationship will not keep up itself. You two both have to do like work and put in time and effort into it if you want to make it work. It's not gonna just work out of nowhere, like automatically. That would be so great, but it's not like that. So a lot of things in life, you actually have to put in the work if you want to achieve something with it. But in order to do that, you can't see all these people being perfect, because you would be like, all right, let's change my partner. It's happening a lot. And I'm not encouraging you or not like demotivating you. If you have a toxic partner, just run 1,000 miles, just go away from that person. But oftentimes, maybe you have something that would work. And again, I think this is a point also, like that's in a relationship where you really have to ask, is it something that like actually not working? Or is it just my fears, my questions, the lack of communication and stuff like that that's messing with it? Because sometimes you feel this is not gonna work, and not because of my fear, not because of anything. That happens a lot. That happens, okay? And just embrace that too. And just say to that person, okay, this is not working out. there's nothing wrong, but I just can't do this. It doesn't feel good, because you shouldn't do something that doesn't feel good, right? But sometimes it's just your fears, it's just your issues. I don't know, just talk, alright? Communicate with that other person, put in the work, and it will be much, much better. I do believe that in every field of life. But for that, you have to see that there are bad relationships sometimes. I mean, there's argument more, rather, I would say. There's argument. Sometimes you're not accepting what the other people are saying. Sometimes you're not understanding them. Sometimes you're not being perfect. Sometimes your gift is not good. Sometimes you can't provide properly. Sometimes you fail in things. Sometimes you're actually not matching 100%, which is, I think, healthy. But I will do one separate episode or separate episodes on relationships, because that's really another thing. The thing is that sometimes that happens, and you just really have to see that life is challenging, there are flaws, everyone has flaws, it will take work. And that's what I really want to show you and show myself, to prove this really to you. Really, unless I get to a part that like, actually I don't get anything out of this anymore. But I really decided that I will go through with this guitar and bass guitar, and I will really put myself to it and just do the practice. I think the next episode will be about this a bit, because I thought this will be much shorter in some sense, but I will just separate it to a different episode, talking about my guitar journey, bass, where I'm at right now, why did I started it, how it's going, and I really want to like connect you to this process, okay? I will upload videos on YouTube of my progress, what can I do right now, and maybe not now, okay? But maybe in 5 years, you can check my top video and you will say, oh my god, this guy is so good. And then you just go back to my first video and you will be like, this guy is so shit. This guy is so not perfect. How this happened? And then you will see the progress. I want actually videos of progress and podcasts of progress. I want you to see those things. And yes, this is a podcast where nothing's perfect. This is a podcast where everything is life, real life. This is real life. And if you don't want real life, then just maybe this podcast is not for you. Because here, you will not see everything in makeup. You will not see everything in like stage lights. You will not hear a perfect audio, or like, I don't know, you don't hear a perfect voice modified to a level where it pleases everyone. It will be just something that's real, okay? I just press the button on my record at GarageBand, and that's it. I just started recording. I will not edit this. And I'm not saying I will never edit, because sometimes I just don't want to make you like, I don't listen to some heavy coughing or who knows. Because yes, sometimes I will be maybe ill. Who knows? Maybe I will have a cold and maybe I want to podcast. But all I'm saying, until it gets to really an annoying level of something, I really don't want to cut videos. I don't want to go back on it. It's a bit about like drawing, okay? Like when your teacher said you should like draw with a pen. Maybe it's not right, but I really like that analogy for this. It's like draw with a pen, and what happens. You can't erase, you can't go back. Life is something like that. Sometimes you just can't or shouldn't erase. And yes, maybe I made some mistakes, maybe my tongue slipped sometimes. Maybe this is not perfect. And I'm sure if you really wanted, you can point out hundreds of errors I just made grammatically, like with the words in the idea. Maybe the structure should be better. I'm sure you can really go at it, okay? Do go at it. But the thing is, this is genuine. I just recorded it. I just went with it. You should freaking go with it too. And that's the same thing with instruments. And I really talk about it, but you're not too old to do it. You're not too young to do it. You don't have small fingers. You should just practice. And yes, this is coming from someone who can't really do the guitar at this point, but this is still my belief based on other experiences in life. Because like this part is not that evolved, I already did other stuff. So I know. It's just hard to keep up with it. See? I know these things. But even I struggle with keeping it up. So I know it's not easy. And I never said this journey will be easy. But maybe stay tuned and then you will see how it goes. Just maybe we can grow together. Just pick up something you like, any hobby, and just do it. Let's motivate each other in some sense. Of course, I will not hear your feedback that much unless you send it to me. but still. So yeah, I just feel like these days the skill ceiling is very high. Everyone is a pro. Like the websites are awesome, pictures got so technical in photography, audience is so demanding, it's really not lifelike. And people are keeping up with it, but at what price? And like what it really communicates towards people. So that's what the next episode will be about mostly, at least guitar journey and stuff. Of course, later on I will maybe talk about photography, my other habits and hobbies and everything, interests, because I have some. And also like just go into detail of why I started guitar 5 times and why I think it will stick this time and stuff like that. So yeah, just as a conclusion, this podcast really tries to show the nitty gritty details, the fails, the struggles, but emotionally and physically along life, hobbies and journey. It will not be scripted right now, for sure not. There will be fails, as there are fails in life. This is also not perfect. And I want to keep it like that. So please, if you ever feel like this is not going in a direction, give me a nudge. Just DM me that, Conrad, you're like really not doing this. This is really not happening. You just strayed away so far from your own idea that we feel just like this is not something, this is not a good direction. So that's that. And that's for the first episode. I think you have like enough content for this. I would like to just tell you that please like check my website. It's conradvenn.com. That's my Instagram and Facebook too. And you can find this podcast there. And currently I will upload it to Spotify, but I'm sure I just like hit major platforms. I will do mailing list. Website is still growing, so bear in mind, as I said, I just took a leap of faith. I went with it. Website is still growing. I think I added the most important details. You can reach out to me in email, which is like conradvenn@gmail.com. And you can reach out to me on my website or social media platforms. Just feel free. Really do reach out. And this was the Venn diagram. And see you next week. Thanks for listening, guys. And girls. And puppies.